We lost Tommy Moody 1 year ago today. Keep the Moody family in your thoughts and in your prayers. It is football season, but Tommy Moody, the greatest Gamecock, it'll always be baseball season. We welcome in somebody who loves baseball, by the way, Perry Orth. His brother did play at the Citadel. I don't know who's a better athlete. Who's faster, Perry or Calvin?
Definitely me.
I've got the video to prove that might not be true, Perry.
When you're getting chased down by guys that run 4.3s, it makes you look really slow.
What do you say? Baseball players are slow? Come on, man.
No,
Okay.
not at all. I'm saying I was referring to my specific stance. But our younger brother was the fast one. He was the one that played quarterback at South Alabama. He could run. Yeah, he got all the good genes, the height, the speed, the good looks.
No, I wouldn't go that far. You're a pretty good looking.
I'm just the pack mule, man. Just load the wagon. Don't worry about me going blind.
That's a good point. That's a good point. ProtectWithBear.com presents this segment every week. Right to Bear for the responsible gun owner, training, education, self-defense coverage as low as $15.41 per month. Over 50,000 members in this crazy world that we live in. It's probably something that you want to have on your side, and someone like Perry Orth and Frank and the rest of the team. Right to Bear. Visit ProtectWithBear.com to find everything they're all about. Real quick here too, Perry, I got to squeeze this in. A guy we all know and love here. Tonight at midnight, anywhere you download your music, a song, if you're from the great state of South Carolina, that's probably going to change everything about your life, is due out. Patrick Davis's Carolina When I Die. It's been long awaited, over 2 years, but he releases that tonight at midnight. This version that will be out is with Darius Rucker and Edwin McCain. He's got another one coming out in December. That one is with his father and with his beautiful sister Megan, whose voice is spectacular. But tonight at midnight, Carolina When I Die, written by Patrick Davis, Darius Rucker, Edwin McCain. Make sure that you download that. It will probably make you tear up like it's going to make JC tear up and the rest of us. It is a phenomenal song if you've actually never heard it. I know that Perry accidentally X'd himself out of our program, but I'm quite confident he'll be back in here shortly unless he's lost power or something like that. Carolina, there he is. Carolina and Oklahoma at 12:45, Perry, on Saturday afternoon in Norman. Gamecocks coming off a heartbreaker, as we all well know, 27-25 in T-Town. So, look, man, Lenore Sellers has been the story this week. Some have chosen to focus on the mistakes, and totally understandable. But Lenora Sellers really, for the most part last weekend, was just pretty spectacular for this Carolina offense. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have had a chance to win the game.
Yes.
So we go back to Ole Miss, fast forward to T-Town. What did you see in him and how he developed and led that program onto the field and gave him a chance to win it?
Yeah, I was so impressed. I mean, we got down, and then the way we fought back, obviously it helps when the defense plays well, but the kid doesn't seem phased at all. He just, even in the mistakes, even in the fumble, to turn around and run right back down the field, score a touchdown to give us a chance to get the onside kick, which we got. I mean, what a game. I hate it for the players and the coaches, man. It makes me literally sick because I feel like, a lot of times Carolina fans and myself, and it didn't matter if you're Carolina or you're just a sports fan, you always seem to be, man, we were a couple plays away from doing X, Y, and Z, right? Ain't that the story? The teams that make the plays are the ones that end up winning the championships. But we really are a couple plays away from being a top 10 team, right? Yeah. Now, whether we are from the outside or we are from the inside, I don't know, yay or nay. Do I think that we are one of the best 25 teams in the country? Yes. Are we going to be ranked at 3-3? No. But you look at the way LSU is turning the corner in their season. You look at Alabama was number 1 in the country a week prior to when we played them. Guys, we can play. We've been saying it now for 7 weeks. I mean, this is a good football team. they've got to finish these games. And then in regards to Lenoris, I mean, a couple of bad plays, and I know, take that with a grain of salt, but a couple of bad plays away from 2 top 15 wins in your first 6 starts. Pretty good start to your career. And unfortunately, we just came up a bit short, but he didn't seem phased even for a second in the game, obviously from a coaching standpoint and from a QB's view, and not some old Monday morning quarterback, but from somebody that, I've been coaching and training guys for 8 years. So now I'm looking at it from a coach's side and standpoint. I tell you, the leaps and the bounds that I am seeing with my own untrained eyes is incredible in the first 6 games. And he's really a few minor decisions from really cleaning up his game in a big way. Obviously, I think it goes without saying that he's certainly one of the most athletic quarterbacks in this conference. But I think that the way he carries himself, even throughout the game, bodes well for our program. And I'm pleased with his performance.
On the road, if anybody's looked at the splits, it's for a true freshman quarterback to go into, you've got your first SEC game or your first SEC start away from your own ballpark in Lexington. And we know what happened there. And then his second road trip is a place called Tuscaloosa, gave him a chance to win. He's 33 of 45 through the air, 404 yards and 4 touchdowns and a couple of picks. The one that he threw last weekend was the heave at the end to Nick Harbert. He's played very well on the road, Perry, against 2, good football teams, certainly quality defenses. I know Alabama's defense maybe isn't what it usually is, but it's still Alabama's defense, man. It's not like they suck, What would you attribute that to?
No, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but his demeanor, his calmness, his presence, I think he's got a lot of secret confidence in himself that he can make the play at any moment. Because of that confidence, it gets him into some really good plays and gets him into some bad ones, right? And hanging on to the ball too long, trying to make that heroic play instead of just you're bottled up, go down, take the sack, take care of the football and move on and, live for the next play. But his demeanor and, it's so funny. You go on Twitter at halftime and not even to see what people are saying, because I couldn't give a damn what our crayon eating fans say at times during these games. You got to let the game play out. The first half, if you look at just the first half, fire Beamer, fire Coach Loggins, let's go hit the portal tomorrow and get a new QB. Everybody's ready to burn the program.
Jesus.
Horrible.
Really? I don't even look at it on game. I don't look at my website or Twitter on game day.
Don't, man. It's crazy. And it irritates me to no end because it has nothing to do of me when I played. Twitter was just kind of on the up and up. But, I look at these kids and I look at these coaches, these guys are we weren't excelling on offense, but we're at Alabama. The week before was the number 1 team in the country. And yes, they were like, oh, well, Vandy and this, that, and the other. And it's like, you got to take each game as its own season, every quarter as its own deal. But then you have to look at the body of work. I mean, look at our 6 games we've played. So this is what we talked about last week when we had some folks jumping all over me because I said that I thought that Dowell was having a good season. And everybody was so concerned that we only scored 3 points against Ole Miss instead of the previous 4 games. Well, look at the body of work. How have we fared on offense? Yeah, we're not putting up crazy numbers. Do I think that's predicated on play calling alone? No. Game plan alone? I don't. I personally, I said this on the radio here in Columbia the other day. I mean, guys, we don't have guys that make people miss on the perimeter. We don't.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's improved though? Like with what we saw last weekend from Nick and Mazio?
They're catching the ball. which is great. Obviously they're doing, but when have we seen this year a catch, run, first guy miss, take it another 30 yards? I mean, you look at,
well, you know better than we do, man.
23 completions for 238 yards, and there were 2 completions that were probably 40 yards each, right? If not maybe 30 pops. So let's say
31 and 36. You're talking about both touchdowns, right?
Yeah. They're yeah. So I mean, all in all, you're looking at an average of 7.7. I'm looking at the stats on the left side of the screen. And
when you say on the perimeter, are you talking about when they throw it to the perimeter, or are you talking about receiving?
Catch and run? I'm talking about catch and run. Like,
yeah, Jacobs can do it some. I've seen it. I've seen him. You know, he was, but a lot of times the guys are covered. But yeah, they haven't had that this year at all. You're right. I don't even remember.
And that doesn't, like, obviously that's not diminishing the kids, right? They're giving their best effort and they're doing the best they can. And the DBs that they're going against are not exactly the, the lower tier of college football. These are the best of the best, but that's where we have struggled. We haven't had those big explosive plays that have sent kids and propelled the offense, right? So the example I gave, when I was calling plays those 2 years at Cardinal Newman, I, even as the play caller, somebody who wasn't in the game, thrived on those explosive plays because it helps get you into a flow and a rhythm of the game. And so you look at somebody like Coach Loggins, and it requires them to call the perfect play for 10 consecutive plays in a row, right? Whereas really you've got Lenoris is out there, Lenoris is out there making plays with his legs. Obviously Rocket's a beast. But when you're, 10-yard completion, catch and fall down, it's a struggle to sustain drives and then score points. So that would be one of my areas of concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pair. So going into the game last weekend, Perry, I had 3 things. I think they're pretty. I mean, it's pretty simple. Don't turn it over, which that's what you could argue what lost them the game. Convert on third down, which they did do, 7 of 15.
Very good.
And eliminate the penalties, and they did that mostly as well. I think Coach Beamer did point out on Tuesday that 3 of the 6 they had were what he would consider pre-snap, and he's not happy about that. But it wasn't 10, 12 penalties and a bunch of bogus stuff. It mostly a clean ball game. When you look at the stats this year, this really, like, we've been giving the number throughout the week that they've lost 8 fumbles, but that tells half the story. They have actually fumbled 14 times in 6 games. Like,
yeah.
Whoa, just think about if they had lost 2 or 3 or 4 of the 6 that they didn't lose, that they got back. Remember after the Kentucky game, we had that conversation, like, and you got a couple of lucky bounces, but this thing could have maybe not looked as pretty if the ball didn't just fall in your lap, and it did. That, to me, it's been a shoot yourself in the foot season to what you're saying a minute ago. You're exactly right. You're 3 plays away from easily being in the top 15. There's no question about that. Maybe being in the top 10. 3 plays. All this other stuff considered, how do you clean up fumbles? Like, what do you do in practice? Like, everybody says, "Oh, you got to pay attention to it, or you got to work on it." Well, what do you do? What happens in practice to fix that?
Yeah, no, it's just a focus. I think the watching it on tape is probably is first off, is certainly a great way to start. It's to take, like, okay, here was the fumble. You were extending a play and you were trying to go the extra mile and push and turn and whatever, and guy came in late, knocks the ball, flies out. The running back meshes, I brought this up the other day, and I didn't realize they ended up verifying that it was Rocket both times at running back on the meshes between the QB and running back that caused the fumble. And I was telling them that just from, playing quarterback since the 8th grade, when you're doing those running back quarterback meshes, you have the ability to, there might be some confusion. The guy clamps down too hard and you're trying to pull. There comes discombobulation and boom, there goes the ball flying, right? It's happened now twice in the last 2 games. And I was saying that I felt that, it could be dependent upon whether the quarterback's not pulling the ball hard enough to disengage to then run it himself, or the running back's clamping too hard. So you got to find that balance. The other thing is just not being cognizant of it. Like, you're used to playing the game and it almost becomes second nature. It's like when you're running down the field, you're not thinking of like, okay, ball here, ball here, ball here. Like, you're thinking like, I'm going to run as fast as I can away from these guys that are trying to tackle me. Right. So you have to we have to be a little bit more cognizant of the football when we're carrying it. And obviously interceptions are going to happen, but I wouldn't say that has been the focal point. We're talking about the fumbles, but just, re-emphasizing the ball security drill. And I've been to practice numerous times. They practice that every day. They do meshes every day. It's just making it a focus point and bringing it up in discussion, resharing it out loud so it seeps into your brain so that you go out and execute it. And then JC, side note, I wanted to say thanks for responding. I was going to respond myself to that guy. I was referring to the crayon eating group, man. Yeah, the crayon eating group. Well. No, you won't meet a bigger South Carolina fan than me, but I'll give you a test for everybody listening. Halftime of the game, if we're not up by 5 touchdowns, just scroll your Twitter feed.
I can't do it, man.
You will know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's my homework for all the listeners this week.
Yeah, it's a 1% lowest common denominator pile of morons.
I will tell you, I have never, ever in my life have been confronted by I've only had positive experiences with fans, like interpersonally. Yeah. It's only the as JC said, the crayon eating 1%ers that want to air their baggage out on Twitter over some 20-year-old kid giving his freaking left, to win for the Gamecocks, right? Like, Coach Saban says it best. I mean, this is why, like, and we all do a great job here on the show, but there are other shows that really attack the kids. Like, nobody wants to win more than the players. Nobody, not even the coaches.
Nobody hurts worse than those guys, man.
And and you lose a couple close games like that, but all that being said, that doesn't encompass our fan base overall.
I was like, I don't think he meant everybody.
No.
All those crayon eating Gamecock fans, all 85,000 of them. No, nobody said that.
No. I would never do shows like this or talk about it and you probably would have heard by now that, hey, Perry Orth thinks our fan base sucks, which I couldn't agree more.
That's what I'm going to start telling everybody. I'm going to the Big Spur right after
I didn't want there to be because those.
I'm going to CBS News you, Perry. I'm going to splice this whole thing together. You're going to look like an asshole.
The same bunch of geniuses on Twitter will literally post that on Twitter and say, Perry Orth called everybody, all Gamecock fans, crayon eaters.
Well, then you can
retweeted.
You can cut that part out, and then you can talk about where I was mentioning that, fire Loggins, fire Beamer, bench the quarterback, take that, piece it together, put it on a string.
Yeah.
I hate our program, and I want everybody dead and fired, right? So
everybody's
just keeps giving us audio here. Way to go, Perry. All right, we're going to have some fun with this segment.
If you guys ever feel like burying me within the Gamecock family, go ahead. I feel like I've given JB plenty of content over the years, probably on and off the radio.
Don't worry.
If we haven't done it yet, why start now?
We have a nice group of former players that are really good. We want to keep it that way. We're very appreciative.
This comment, Perry Orth is the new Javon Kinlaw. That is funny.
Oh man, you two do have a lot in common. I think that's
honestly, if we would have played together, we would have been the boys. Just hating South Carolina till the cows come home.
But y'all walking around with like a box of crayons.
Let me remind everybody.
Just double bird up.
For legal defense protection, go to protectwithbear.com and contact that Gamecock 8 and Perry Orth.
Guy can't stand him.
You might not like him. $15 a month would serve your family well. Go ahead.
True.
I was just going to say with all that in mind, and now that we've clarified that nobody here is rooting against anybody, and certainly not the fans and whatnot. Clearly, the Gamecock offense is a ways to go. Okay, so when fans do watch it on Saturday, it is justifiable to expect a little bit more. So constructive criticism, which is you're very good at. What do you want to see improve? This is a very winnable game in my eyes in Norman. What do you want to see this? Because the defense, if you could sign up for the way this defense is played the rest of this year, and for that matter, eternity, we'd all do it tomorrow.
No.
Offense is clearly lagging behind. I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that the Gamecock offense has thrown the second most passes of any team in the SEC. The only one that's thrown more is Georgia. So it's not, now some teams have played one less game, but still, they have thrown it. But clearly the passing game has been rife with some issues. So what do you want to see improve here? It's a long way to go. I brought up a stat during our Love Chevy Drive Around the SEC, and there's a common theme. You look at the 1 through 16, the quarterbacks in this league, the veterans, the guys that have been there, done that, those are the ones that right now are playing the best ball. The ones who are struggling, true freshmen, redshirt freshmen. You've been there. You know how valuable that experience is. So you got a redshirt freshman quarterback. You've got some receivers for the first time starting at this level. You got an O-line that's been leaky. What do you want to see constructively improve the second half?
Yeah, the fumbles, obviously. Fumbles are those are not easy to clean up, but that can be such a focal point and focus that you can clean those up pretty quickly. Doesn't mean you're never going to, but 14 fumbles that we've lost the ball. Maybe not the other teams recovered, but we've literally fumbled the ball 14 times. And I'm not exactly a brainiac, but that's over two times a game, right? So that cannot happen. And then I've already said it, man, but we've got to find a way to create explosive plays. If we're not, and we just don't right now have the guys to make those extra long gains, then we'll just have to get extra creative. Those would be the two, from the two easiest highlighted points from my view to help us, explode more as an offense, right? Because the explosive plays lead to points. Explosive plays lead to increased stats, which look better, right? If you look at our stats offensively, we look like a middle of the road, maybe a little lower half of the road. We've also played some pretty damn good teams. That attributes to it as well. But yeah, I think you take care of the football and you create a few more explosive scoring plays, right? When you cross that 50, let's take a shot for the box. And I'm not necessarily saying drop back and 9 route and throw it as far and as high as you can and hope for the best, but being creative to take shots for the end zone, and you got to try to score. Right? I know that goes without saying, but I think sometimes you can get too cute by trying to just do what your game plan says instead of going off your gut and going off your instinct of all right, we've got to score some points here and we've got to press it a little bit. That would be the number one. Number two thing behind the fumbles that we've got to do if we want to, make a run for a bowl game. Now, these last 6 games, obviously they're tough teams. I don't see any world beaters on the schedule. It would be remarkable. We could easily win out. There's nobody on this schedule that would scare me if I was playing. Obviously Clemson's playing well right now, but even talking to some of my Clemson buddies, they'll tell me hey man, yeah, we're playing well, but we're not exactly going through the gauntlet from a schedule perspective. So, I like our chances, man. I really like this team. I love where Coach Beamer is at. I cannot say that enough, and I don't want to sound like a homer, but he's taken full accountability of every win and every loss. When we win and play well, he defers it to his assistants and the players. When we lose, he takes full. It seems like he's turning the corner right in front of our eyes, and I'm excited. He's got us in a really good competitive stance. Even watching the game on Saturday, he just seemed very composed the whole time. And you're on the road in Tuscaloosa. That is not exactly the most comforting place to play either. I'm excited about where we're going, man. I really do. And the only problem, I just hate our fans, and
I think Carolina's
weren't
played
the fan
3
base.
best offenses they'll play this year. Ole Miss, LSU, and Bama.
I
No
agree
offense to
with
Clemson, and no offense to Missouri. And Vanderbilt's very problematic, but I think Carolina's
you're right,
defense
Jason.
matches up better
It looks
better.
favorable, man. I'm excited about this back half. I honestly, man, I know I got to run, but I think we are going to hammer Oklahoma this weekend. I think it's a hammer. I think it's a 27-24-10 where we're just in control of the game. If not, I would be shocked. I really would be. From what I've been told, everybody is laser locked in over there and ready to just destroy the next opponent on the schedule, and Oklahoma just happened to be next.
I think it's very plausible.
Good. It makes me feel better.
For what it's
because I was
worth,
feeling the
take
same
the
way. I'm
under.
glad
Take
somebody
the
else
under.
agrees.
Yeah.
Feels
I mean,
better.
just take the under. By the way, Gamecocks, we'll talk more about this tomorrow. 19 sacks on the season, 21 all of last season. So if they get 2 this weekend, they'll match that total.
Hey, y'all know the over hit on Harbor's late touchdown pass last week too.
Yeah.
The
Thanks.
bar erupted. My buddies were hugging each other. I was like, "What? We still got a 2-point conversion. What are you doing?" And they took the over.
Oh,
Nice.
it was damn
The
better.
spoils of gambling.
Harry, thanks, man. Always
Hey, guys.
appreciate you. I gotta get you out of here. See you next week. Thanks a lot.